Have you ever been in the zone? I mean truly locked in. You're on the ice, it's quiet, and you've found the school. Perch, crappie, walleye, it doesn't matter. They're biting. Your vexillar is a Christmas tree. And then you hear it, the whine of an auger 100 feet away. The bite doesn't slow down, it dies instantly, and you know exactly who to blame. For years we've all thought the same thing. The noise spooked them. Well, today we're going to blow that theory right out of the water. I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll understand the real reason the fish shut down, and it has very little to do with what the fish is hearing. This one secret explains so many dead zones on the ice and will completely change how you approach a spot. So let me ask you, do you think it's just bad luck? Or is there something more scientific, more primal going on beneath the ice? This whole situation is more than just a minor annoyance on a Saturday morning. It's a pattern that costs us fish and can turn a great day into a frustrating one. The common belief, the one passed down from our grandfathers, is simple. Loud auger equals scared fish. It makes perfect sense on the surface. You were a deer in the woods, a loud, unnatural sound would send you running, right? So we've all accepted this as gospel. We tell new fishermen to be quiet, we get annoyed when someone drills too close, and we blame the noise every single time. But here's the problem with that old school logic. It's not consistent. We've all had days where someone drills nearby and nothing happens. More importantly, every single one of us has drilled our own holes and caught a fish within minutes. If the noise alone was a guaranteed fish spooker, that would be impossible. The truth is, we've been focusing on the wrong sense. We've been thinking like humans on top of the ice, not like fish living in a world of pressure and vibration. Let's set the scene. You know this morning well, the air is so cold, it hurts to breathe, but the sky is clear and there's no wind. It's perfect. You did your homework, checked your maps, and you're set up right on the edge of a weed line where you know the walleye patrol at dawn. Your flasher is glowing, showing a thick red line on the bottom and a few curious marks suspended just above it. You drop your jigging rap, give it a few pops, and bam, fish on, a perfect keeper. You get it back down there, and it happens again. This is it. This is the day you've been waiting for all season. The feeling of success, of having a plan come together, is even better than the cold beer you're thinking about for later. For this moment, the lake is yours and the fish are cooperating. It's pure, uninterrupted fishing bliss. And then you hear it. At first, it's just a distant buzz like an angry mosquito. But it gets louder. It's the unmistakable sound of a four-wheeler or a snowmobile heading your way. A silhouette appears against the sunrise, another angler. There's a whole lake, but of course, he's heading for your general area. He stops maybe 100, 150 feet away, close enough to see, far enough that it shouldn't be a problem. Or so you think. You try to ignore it, focusing on your rod tip. Then comes the sound that every ice fisherman knows and dreads, the high-pitched scream of a gas auger tearing into the ice. It's a violent, grating noise that shatters the morning peace. You wince, look over, and hope for the best, but a pit forms in your stomach. You know what's coming next. The change is not gradual, it is immediate and total. It's like a light switch was flipped off somewhere deep under the water. The screen on your flasher, which was just alive with the flickering red and green marks of active fish, goes blank, utterly, completely empty. The thick-bottom signal is still there, but the life above it has vanished. Your rod tip, which had been telegraphing the subtle taps of interested perch, is now perfectly still. The silence in your shanty is suddenly deafening. You give your lure a few more jigs, hoping to call them back in. You wait 1 minute, 5 minutes, nothing. The bite is not just slow, it is gone. It has ceased to exist. The magical window has slammed shut, and the culprit is sitting in plain sight, blissfully unaware of the dead zone he just created. Now let's talk about the old fisherman's logic, the immediate gut reaction we all have. We look over at that guy, listen to his roaring auger, and we say, well, that's it for this spot. He spooked him with all that noise. It's the simplest explanation, and for decades, it's been the only one we needed. It's what our dads told us and their dads told them. Loud, unnatural mechanical sounds scare fish. It's easy to understand, it fits the narrative, and it gives us someone to blame for our sudden lack of success. We pack up and move, or we sit there stewing, convinced that the sound waves from that drilling operation sent every fish within a quarter-mile running for the deepest part of the lake. It's a closed case in the court of fishing opinion. But what if the jury has been wrong all this time? Let's pause and really put that old logic to the test. Is it truly, unequivocally, just about the noise? Think about the natural environment under the ice. It is anything but a silent, peaceful library. The ice itself is a living, breathing thing. It shifts, it groans, it expands and contracts. Sometimes it lets out a crack that sounds like a gunshot, a boom that reverberates for miles and makes your heart jump into your throat. These natural sounds are incredibly loud, both above and below the surface. If any loud noise was enough to send fish into a permanent panic, they would spend the entire winter hiding under rocks, never coming out to feed. They are biologically programmed to live in a world filled with loud, sometimes violent sounds. They have to be, or they would starve. The underwater world is a symphony of vibrations and sounds. Fish are constantly exposed to noise, the sound of the wind across the ice, the grinding of ice sheets against each other, even the sounds of other fish swimming and feeding. Their entire sensory system is built to filter out this constant background noise and pay attention to the specific vibrations that mean one of two things: food or danger. They can distinguish the subtle flutter of a dying minnow from the random noise of the environment. So why would the sound of an auger, which is essentially just another loud, temporary noise in their world, be a universal off switch? Why this specific sound? The answer is, it's probably not the sound itself that's the primary issue. We're blaming the symptom, not the cause. Here is the biggest hole in the noise theory. It is the glaring inconsistency that we've all experienced but chosen to ignore because it didn't fit the simple explanation. Think about it. Have you ever drilled a new hole, dropped your transducer down, and seen fish sitting right there, completely unbothered? Have you ever caught a fish literally 30 seconds after the auger was shut off? The answer for every single person watching this is yes, of course you have. If the noise alone was the catastrophic event we believe it to be, this would be impossible. The fish would be long gone. This inconsistency is our biggest clue. It tells us that something else is happening during the drilling process, something more powerful and more fundamental to a fish's survival instinct than just sound waves traveling through the water. So, it's time to shift our focus entirely. Let's stop thinking about what the fish hears with its tiny inner ears. Instead, let's focus on what the fish feels with its entire body. To do this, we need to get out of our human mindset. We live in air, a thin medium. Fish live in water, a substance that is nearly 800 times denser than air. This is a critical difference. In water, vibrations and pressure changes travel with incredible speed and force. What might be a minor event in the air can be a cataclysmic one in the water. The real answer to our question lies not in acoustics, but in physics and biology. We've been blaming the engine's roar when we should have been looking at the invisible shockwave it creates. Let's introduce the true culprit. The real villain of this story is not the sound, it is the pressure wave. This might sound like a term from a science fiction movie, but it is a very real and very powerful phenomenon. When an auger is drilling, it's just chewing up ice. But in that final second, when it punches through the last layer and enters the water column below, it does something far more dramatic than just make noise. It violently displaces water. It's like a piston firing. This sudden, forceful entry into the water creates a concussion, a shock wave of compressed water that radiates outward in all directions at incredible speed. This is the pressure wave. It's not a sound, it's a physical jolt, an invisible wall of force moving through the lake. To help you visualize this pressure wave, let's use an analogy. Imagine you are standing in a swimming pool, waist deep in the water. The water is perfectly still. Now imagine someone on the diving board at the other end of the pool does a cannonball. What happens? Long before you hear the splash with your ears, you feel the water move. You feel that jolt, that wave of pressure hit your legs and chest. It's a physical sensation. Now amplify that by 1,000. The pressure under a thick sheet of ice is immense. When an auger breaks that seal, the resulting pressure wave is far more intense than a simple cannonball. It is a powerful, jarring event that physically alters the environment around the fish, even 100 feet away. Now that we understand the force, let's look at the receiver. A fish has an incredible built-in alarm system that we humans simply don't have. It's called the lateral line. You've seen it on every fish you've ever caught. It's that faint line running down the fish's side from its gills to its tail. That is not just a cosmetic stripe, it is a highly advanced sensory organ, a complex network of pores and nerve endings. Its entire purpose is to detect movement, vibration, and most importantly, pressure changes in the water. It is a fish's sixth sense. It's how a school of minnows can move as one, and how a predator can hunt in total darkness. It is their primary tool for interpreting the world around them. So how does this lateral line work? Essentially, it allows the fish to feel its surroundings. As water flows past the fish, it enters the tiny pores of the lateral line and stimulates the sensitive nerve cells inside. A nearby predator creates a certain pressure signature. A struggling baitfish creates another. The fish can read these signatures like a language. It can tell the size, speed, and direction of anything moving in the water around it. It is so sensitive that it can detect the faintest of vibrations. It's their sonar, their motion detector, and their sense of touch all rolled into one. It is constantly feeding the fish's brain information about its immediate environment, and its primary job is to alert the fish to any sudden, unnatural changes. Now connect the two. We have the violent pressure wave from the auger, and we have the hypersensitive lateral line of the fish. When that shock wave hits the fish, it's not a gentle nudge. It is a massive, overwhelming sensory input. It's an assault on their entire system. To a fish, this isn't just a vibration, it's the equivalent of a flashbang grenade going off in a small room for a human. It's a signal of pure, unadulterated danger. The pressure signature is completely unnatural. It doesn't mimic a food source, it mimics a large-scale violent event. The fish's brain receives one simple, powerful message from its lateral line. Something terrible just happened nearby. Flee, hide, or freeze. The feeding instinct is gone, replaced instantly by the survival instinct. But wait, there's more. The pressure wave is the initial shock, but it is often followed by a second killer that seals the deal. The moment the auger clears the whole of slush, another dramatic event happens. A focused, brilliant beam of light stabs down from the surface into the relatively dark world below. Under a blanket of snow-covered ice, the world is dim and murky. The fish's eyes are adjusted to this low-light condition. This new hole is not a gentle, ambient light source. It is a spotlight, a sudden, piercing circle of intense brightness in a world that was uniformly dark just a second before. and this spotlight comes from the one direction that spells trouble for every prey animal on the planet, directly above. Think about it from a purely instinctual level. What does a sudden, focused beam of light or a fast-moving shadow from above mean to a prey animal? It means a predator. It's the shadow of a hawk passing over a field mouse, or an osprey diving towards the water's surface. For a fish, that new hole represents a breach in their overhead cover. It is a potential attack vector from birds, otters, or other predators. Their genetics, honed over millions of years, scream at them that this new, bright opening in their ceiling is a place of extreme danger. Their instinct is to get away from that light, to seek the safety of deeper water or the security of cover. It confirms the warning that the pressure wave just gave them. So what we have is a devastating 1-2 punch combination. It happens in a split second, but it attacks two of the fish's most critical senses. First, the auger breaks through, sending out that violent pressure wave. This is punch number 1. It's a full-body jolt to the lateral line that screams, "Danger! Violence! Unnatural event!" The fish is instantly on high alert. Then, a second later, the hole is cleared and the light beam shines down. This is punch number 2. The eyes see this terrifying spotlight from above, confirming the threat and giving it a location. This combination is the perfect recipe for shutting down a bite. It's not just a single, annoying noise, it's a multi-sensory attack that triggers the deepest survival instincts in the fish's brain. This two-part theory also perfectly explains all those inconsistencies we talked about earlier. Why does drilling sometimes not affect the bite? The answer lies in depth and bottom composition. If you're fishing for lake trout in 100 feet of water, that pressure wave from the surface has a long way to travel. It loses a significant amount of its energy and intensity by the time it reaches the fish. The light beam also diffuses and becomes far less threatening at that depth. For those deep water fish, the event is a minor disturbance, not a red alert. They might notice it, but it's not enough to send them packing. This is why you can often drill right on top of deep fish with less of a negative impact. However, it's a completely different story in the shallows. Let's say you're targeting crappies suspended 10 feet down in 15 feet of water, especially over a hard rock or gravel bottom. In this scenario, that pressure wave is absolutely brutal. It doesn't have far to travel, so it hits the fish with almost its full force. Then it bounces off the hard bottom and hits them again from below. The light beam is also incredibly intense and focused. For a fish in this environment, the event is catastrophic. It's an inescapable, violent attack from all sides. This is why shallow water panfish are notoriously easy to spook. It's not because they are smarter, it's because the physics of the situation are working against them and against you. So the big question is, what can we do with this information? How does this change the way we fish? The answer is it allows us to be smarter and more strategic. First, understand that when you arrive at a new spot, your first few holes are like setting off small bombs. You are going to disrupt the area, so have a plan. Drill all the holes you think you'll need for the next hour at once. Drill them, clean them out, and then back off. Go get your gear, have a coffee. Give that spot a solid 15 to 20 minutes to cool down. Let the pressure waves dissipate and let the fish forget about the attack. Their short-term memory will allow them to settle back into their routine, and you can then approach your holes quietly and start fishing an area that has returned to normal. Finally, this explains the courtesy factor on a scientific level. When you see a guy on a hot bite, giving him a wide berth isn't just about being polite, it's about preserving the bite for everyone. Constantly hole-hopping and drilling near other anglers is the worst thing you can do. You are not just making noise, you are repeatedly sending out those pressure waves and light flashes. You are keeping the fish in that entire zone in a constant state of high alert. You might pick off one or two aggressive fish, but you are ruining the potential for a sustained bite. Being a courteous, strategic fisherman means understanding the impact you have under the ice. Give other anglers space, drill your holes at once, and let the lake settle. You'll not only be a better neighbor, but you'll almost certainly put more fish on the ice. So, there you have it. The next time you're on the ice and your bite suddenly dies after a neighbor drills a hole, don't just curse the noise. Remember the devastating 1-2 punch. First, the invisible, violent pressure wave that assaults the fish's lateral line, and second, the terrifying beam of light that confirms a threat from above. The big takeaway, the aha moment here, is that the problem isn't auditory, it's physical and visual. It's about what the fish feels and sees, not what it hears. This knowledge is a game changer. It means you can be more strategic. You can plan your drilling, let your spots cool down, and understand why giving other anglers space is based on real science. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something new today that's going to change your approach on the ice, do me a favor and hit that like button. And be sure to subscribe for more videos that break down the myths of fishing. Now I want to hear from you. What's the craziest thing you've seen spook fish while ice fishing? Let me know your story in the comments below.